time.
Apparently. It's only when I'm sober. Why can't I do things sober? Hi, you are listening to Rent Free in My Head, the podcast where we take the thoughts that are squatting in our brains and helps them set up residence in yours, free of charge. Each week, Kirstyn is going to tell me a true crime story.
And then Jeramie will break our hearts and tell us a mystery that we will have no closure for because he's a horrible person.
I will warn you today that Speculation Station is also Devastation Station today. So
sick. Love that.
Kind of getting you back for everything you do to me.
Mine's not like super dark. It's just really random. I feel.
Okay. That's something.
It's like a little dark. Like it's like a dark grey, not a black.
Like a charcoal.
Actually,
I do love a good charcoal.
I'm like reading back over it, and I'm like, oh, actually, like.
Quick little update. So remember last week when I told you about my demon dream, and then the barking dog. So the demon dog. Well, firstly, found out that the dog was not related to the demon. It was from a different apartment, a couple of floors up. So that's fine. It was just a coincidence. However,
it's just a normal demon.
Yeah, and I think I still have a demon because I keep hearing a voice on my phone when I'm on a call, and it's not my voice or the other person.
It's the government.
I mean, I also had that thought too.
Yeah, but why the fuck does the government care about you?
I mean, the things that I Google, I'm probably on some kind of fucking list.
I was about to say that like the government has more important things to do, but like
they need to find out why.
Government.
They need to find out why this kid over here is good. I don't know why I call myself a kid. I'm pushing 30.
An adult.
Why is this kid over here googling desert balls and is there a patron saint of pooping? But yeah, no. So I was on the phone the other night and I was like, "Can you hear that voice?" And the other person was like, "No." And I'm like, cool. It's only when I talk. And they're like, "Is it just your voice bouncing back?" And I'm like, "No, I know what my voice sounds like. And this is like a deep man voice."
Which is like nowhere near your voice.
No. And then I was like, and also the sounds don't match up with what I'm saying. And they're like, "Oh, what is it saying?" I'm like, "I don't know because I'm speaking, so I can't focus on what it's saying. And it's only like one syllable here and there." So just, and then it happened another time when I was on the phone as well with a different person. And I'm like, it was weird, but I might die, which is also concerning because a mutual friend of ours told me at one point that I will die, that when I die, it will be on her terms and she will be there. So now I'm extra on edge every time I'm around her, which is a lot.
I have two people that I think that this could be.
It's the little ray of sunshine.
Yeah, that's what I thought first.
Yeah. Yeah. Which was...
I was like, immediately, I was like, yes.
It was really alarming because we're just sitting there and I think I made some comment about wanting to die. And she's like, "No, you'll die on my terms. You're not allowed to die." And I'm like, "Okay." And she's like, "I will be there when you die." And I've just kind of looked at her and I'm like, that's
she's gonna be the one who murders
concerning to hear. So at least I feel extra safe anytime she's not around because I'm like, I can't die because sunshine's not here.
On the bright side, you probably couldn't be killed by a nicer person.
Right?
Like, she's so sweet.
I feel like it would also be an interesting way to go, just given given how random and chaotic she is. Literally, I'm standing there the other day at work. Room is entirely silent. No one's talking. I'm listening to a podcast or music or something. I don't know. I'm doing my own thing. She walks into the room. She's just standing there. She's next to me for a minute. And then she just randomly looks at me and goes, I'm really into nursery rhymes at the moment. I've looked at her, I'm like, what? And she's like, what's your favorite nursery
I can
rhyme?
see her saying that.
She's
so
just like, what's your
perfectly.
favorite nursery rhyme? I'm really into them right now. And I've just kind of looked at her, I'm like,
oh my god.
and so now she just keeps walking around going, twinkle, twinkle, little star slaps. It's my favorite. I'm like, she's something, all right.
Excuse me. I woke up
That's
like
fair.
20 minutes ago. My
Yes.
brain is still like.
We are actually recording during the day for once, but I'm not capable. I as we learned last week when we recorded and fucked that up, I'm worse at this sober, so I don't have to go to work today, unlike you. Meaning I'm not staying sober.
So much.
I do have to go to a I
Yeah.
do have to go to dinner tonight though, so this is going to be interesting. No, I'm going to an Italian restaurant tonight for dinner.
With an Italian.
With an
Has
Italian.
he been there? Has he been
He
there
has.
before?
He
Or is he gonna?
has.
Okay,
He
I was gonna
went-
say, is
he
he
went
gonna spend
there
the whole
last-
time judging it?
He went there last week and said that it was really good and that it's actual Italian food. So it was his choice for us to go there. So we have that. And then we're planning on having some drinks and getting munted afterwards. So I'll just be pre-gaming real early. So, do you have a story for me?
Oh, do I?
How am I going to feel about it? Because, like, obviously I'm okay with day drinking, but, like, don't want to
Look,
overdo
it's not
it.
like it's not like super duper bad. Well, I
I'm
guess
low-key glad
it's
that
on-
we're not
it-
recording a double anymore, because that was going to get messy. For me, not for you.
Yeah. I was gonna say you would be like fucking shit face, and I'd be here being like, Jeramie, tell me the next part of the mystery.
I mean, I'm drinking beer. You can't get shit-faced off of beer.
And yet,
I mean,
weird white men still manage it somehow.
you can, but it takes a lot, and you're gonna end up more bloated than munted, and no one likes it bloat.
On that note, we're going to France this week, which is very exciting.
So you're
Yeah.
taking us to France. I'm taking us to Italy.
I know, right? Europe. Euro trip. That's a pretty good movie.
That
It's
is
a little bit
actually.
weird.
I
like it.
constantly have Scotty doesn't know randomly in my head for
Oh,
no
fat
reason. Like I'll just
fucking mood,
be walking along and I won't have
Right?
thought
And then
about
all
it
of a
for
sudden
months.
right,
Scotty
and it
doesn't
just
know.
pops in your head, and you're like,
Yeah.
what? Why? What? And then you have to like, it's in your head, and you have to like sing it and like vibe with it.
Yeah.
Also, like Lana's in it, and like, now I kind of feel like watching Smallville.
Me too, but also I can't stand looking at Alice and Mac's face. So
I literally, she just popped up in a picture, and I was like, and then I remember why. But I do really like the Lois that we got in Smallville.
Erica Durance is a fucking babe, and just the character of Lois, amazing.
She did it so well.
Mm.
I mean, Erica is like chef's kiss, the best Lois Lane.
Because I fucking love Amy Adams, even though she's basically a discount Isla Fisher.
Literally, though.
Yeah. I do love Amy Adams, but that was not a Lois Lane.
No.
Right. Sorry. So, France.
Why is it every time I go to speak, I need to yawn? We're also going to the 30s, where women were nothing. To a city called, I'm just gonna say it is spelt LE space MANS. So when I first read it, I was like, Le Mans.
Is it Le Mans?
Yep.
Do not
So,
speak,
like, the
do not
entire
speak French at
fucking-
all, but I
The
see
entire
that.
time I was reading it, I was like, Le Mans, Le Mans, Le Mans, Le Mans. And then I was like, oh, I should probably like Google how the fuck you actually say it, because someone is going to have an issue with
I mean,
it.
it could be worse. You could have been saying it lemons. But,
Um,
when life gives you lemons, make it Le Mans.
I literally have written my note to a city called Le Mans, pronounced Le Mans. And my brain is like, Le Mans, Le Mans, Le Mans.
Look, it's a step up from the Spanish incident.
Look, I tried. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm just a basic white bitch who's trying. Look, okay. Also, I did take French for like 3 years, so I'm slightly better with French stuff.
Don't worry, I
Anyway.
heavily took advantage of the fact that I have an Italian at my disposal to keep fact checking. And I was like, so I read this about Italy, is that correct? And then I was like, also, how do I say this? How do I say that? How do I say this? I'm still gonna butcher it though, I'm sure.
Anyway, oh, okay. Which also, so like it's a little city in France, but apparently it's also like the name of some like super famous sports car endurance race. I don't know. I'm not gonna lie to you. Sports does not interest me in the fucking slightest, so I really did not look up. Literally, though, I don't even know what cars are. Like I know what they are, but like
it's like when you're waiting for your Uber and it's like it is a blue Hyundai.
Oh my god, literally though.
Gets, and I'm like, I know what blue is.
Literally though, I'm like, blue. Okay, so I'm looking for a blue car, and then every time I'm like, are you such and such? And they're like, yeah, are you Kirstyn? I'm like, yeah. Okay, so yeah, it's a sports car endurance race. I really did not look into anything more about it because I really just didn't care. But like, apparently it's like that cool of a race that like people die. That's a bad sentence. Apparently it's like an intense race that people can die from it. That's how I'm gonna word it. Because like when I was looking at like notable people, it gave me like a whole list of like politicians. Like there was like a former prime minister of France that was born there, some like archbishop kid, a bunch of other politicians and some other dudes. But then there was like a separate list that was like, if you want the list of people that have died in Le Mans race, click here. And I was like, oh, cool. So, you know.
Your case isn't about the race, is it?
No.
Okay, cool. I was like, there's only so much I can listen to about the race cars.
No, that's where the race car stuff ends because I just didn't care. Cars go boom boom. I like them fast, but that's
Let's just zoom away from that.
It's like a double whammy because we're on Zoom. Anyway, but I really do like history, so I thought this thing was cool that I read about it. So from parts of the city, the Roman wall is visible, and then there's also some like Roman baths down along the river. But what I thought was really cool was because like the walls and stuff like that in their summer, which is July, August, which is like wigged my brain out for a hot second. In the evening they do like a light show onto the walls showcasing the like history of the town. I was like, oh, that's so fucking cute.
That's cute. I like that.
Right? The story is about some sisters, and I'm sorry if you've already heard it. It is. And I'm probably going to pronounce their last name wrong because I didn't think to look up how you say their last name. So I'm just going to say it phonetically.
It's from the 30s, did you say?
Yeah.
I don't think I know what you're talking about because the only there's two cases that are coming to mind that involve sisters, and I'm pretty sure neither are from that time period or in France. One is
sisters.
One is the Silent Twins, which is one I will cover at some point because that's a mystery. And the other is, I don't know their names, but it was a case. The only reason it came to mind was because it's a French term, but it's also a psychological term, is a case involving Folle à Deux, which is also a Fall Out Boy album, but it's like a shared psychosis.
Oh. Well,
that is an interesting case that you should cover because it's not a mystery. Anyway. Never heard of the Pappins.
The Pappins, yeah. So it's
the Pappins.
Kirstyn, it's Papin. So it could be Papin or Pappin. Technically, it would be Papin because there's no double P. Papin. So the
this
Papin
club
sisters?
be Pappin.
Yeah, I like Pappin better. I'm not gonna lie. So I'm gonna say Pappin. I'd say sorry, but these people are the murderers, so I can go fuck over if I say the name wrong. Also, I like. Oh, they're like both dead, so don't worry. Spoiler alert.
Good to know.
Anywho, so it's Kirstyn and Leah. So Leah is the oldest. She was born in 1911, and little Kirstyn was born in 1905. They were born and grew up in villages just south of Le Mans. There was also another sister, but she became a nun. So, like, you know, go her. So yeah, they both spent time in institutions as a result, you know, of their parents' marriage breakdown, because like shit happens, it affects your children. Don't be losers. They grew up to become maids. They also preferred to work together because they were like super duper close. So there was a 6-year age gap, but that pretty much didn't mean anything to them. They were like besties. So they would try and take jobs together when they would, you know, made out. That sounds like I'm saying they make out. No, they don't make out. I meant like when they would like be hired out as maids, they would work together.
So they live together and they work together. Is that correct? And they're related?
Yeah, so they're sisters and they were maids and they would work in different homes. Lamar, fuck my, I can't, my brain like do this. Lamar homes. And then in about 1926, they became live-in maids in the house of Monsieur Rene Lancelin. Phonetically, it's Lancelin. Lancelin.
Yeah, I would say Lancelin.
I think it's Lancelin. That sounds more French. Lancelin. Monsieur Rene Lancelin. I really should have looked up how to say these names. Oh well. Look.
You did well with Le Mans. That's
yeah, I did.
That's one that you looked up.
Well, because I glanced over it and I was like, yeah, those names look kind of easy.
I can't think of anything worse than working with someone that you live with, though. It's like the same as when people are like when people work with someone that they're dating. Like, okay, but when do you get time away from that person?
I'm just saying, are you like purposely trying to attack me? Because I have been in both of those situations. I have dated someone I worked with, and I've lived with someone I worked with.
How do you get away from that person? I mean, I also
call it me time, and I lock myself in my bedroom and tell them to fuck off.
I've also spent so much time living alone that just the concept of living with another person terrifies me. Okay,
so good old Renee was a retired solicitor. What is the difference between solicitor and lawyer?
I don't think there is a difference. I'm pretty sure a solicitor is a type of lawyer.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Or it's just another term. But yeah, there's not really a difference.
Bestie was a lawman, okay? Bestie was a lawman. And he had a wife and an adult daughter who still lived with her parents because she, you know, wasn't married. So she was low-key useless in that time. And they also had another daughter, but she was married, so obviously she didn't live with them. So they were like super duper maids. The Papin sisters were super duper quiet, kept to themselves, just fucking, you know, did their job, kept their head down, and like didn't really seem to have any interest except for each other. So when I say they were close, they were like kind of freakishly close, like not incesty close, but like
I was gonna say, so was the
close.
Made out
no
Freudian slip not a Freudian slip?
No, well, whenever like anything I read about them, it didn't say that there was any like incesty shit. It just kind of was like they were super duper close, like super duper close. On the 2nd of February 1933, good old lawman Renee was supposed to meet his wife and daughter for dinner at home with a friend that was coming over. Super cute. Wait, no, not at their house, at the friend's house, my bad. So they were going to a friend's house for dinner, you know, cute little social outing. But his wife and daughter didn't show up. Renee was like, oh, this is like low-key, like really embarrassing. What the fuck? I'm reading between the lines here. It doesn't actually say that he thought it was embarrassing, but again, given the fact that he was a white man in the 30s, I'm gonna make the assumption.
I'm
He was all
embarrassed
like, oh
for
my
him.
God. Of course you would, fucking white man. Anyway, so he was like, oh my God, like he's like, oh, this is kind of awkward, pretty embarrassing. My wife and kid haven't shown up to dinner. Fucking women, ew. And then
And
he was
kids.
like, no, she was an adult woman.
Oh, okay.
It was an adult child. Yeah, they're both adults, the mother and daughter.
Okay. Oh, so she was a kid that was also pushing 30, like me.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But she was unmarried, so she was basically like a 5-year-old until they could marry her off. Which,
Get some
spoiler alert, doesn't happen.
Who pays the dowry again? Is it the father of the bride or the do you pay someone? Did they pay a dowry so that you would take their daughter? It's the father of the bride.
Because yeah. They pay someone. No, maybe it's not.
Either way, it sounds like a bad deal.
No. The father of the groom has to pay the father of the bride. So like back in the day, it would be like, my daughter's worth 5 cows. Give me 5 cows. Isn't that how it would be? I feel like that's it.
Yeah. No, the dowry is a payment such as property or money paid by a bride's family to the groom or his family.
Oh. So what, the groom is like, yo, dad, I want to marry Jessica. And then they go to Jessica's family and they're like, hey,
how much will you pay us to take your... So it's not even...
Daughter off your hands.
So it's not even that the woman is property worth purchasing. It's that they have to pay someone to deal with her, which like, fat mood. I will pay someone to deal with Kirstyn so that I don't have to, please. I don't have any money or anything. Just like, take her.
I'm probably not worth
She's
much,
free
guys.
to a good home.
Free to a good home. Come on, I'm at least worth 5. I was gonna say 5 cents, but
honestly, she's free to a shit home too. I'll give you a bottle of beer. Actually, no, I won't. I want to drink the beer. I will high five you if you take her off my hands, because my hands will be free to high five then.
Gang, you heard it here first. I am worth 1 high five.
Maybe 2.
Oh, maybe 2
at the same time.
I just meant to call it a 10-5, but it's a high 10.
I was going to call it a double slapper.
Oh my God. So anyway, back to the pep in, sisters. So Renee was all like, oh fuck, like what's the hippity hap? Why have these bitches not turned up to dinner? I'm gonna go back to the house and figure out what the fuck's going on. So he goes back home, but he can't get into his house because the doors are locked from the inside. He's like, what the fuck is going on, gang friends? Like, why would you lock me out? #rude. And then when he was like looking through the windows to see if he could like see anything or like see if anyone was home to like let him in, he noticed that there was the glow of the candlelight inside the maid's room. So Renee's like, this is a little bit sketch. So he went to the police and was like, hey, my wife and daughter didn't show up to dinner. I went home. I'm locked out. The only light I can see is in the maid's room. Like, I'm fucking confused. Can you come help me break into my house? So the Popo and him head back to the house. One of the police gets into the house by climbing over the back wall. I was slightly confused by that. Like, maybe I'm assuming there was like a closed off courtyard. And so he got in that way. And then inside, the policeman found the bodies of Madame Lencelin. Is that how Lencelin? That's how we decided to pronounce it. Sorry, it was the 30s, so she doesn't have a fucking name. The daughter literally doesn't have a name either. Like, she's just mentioned as daughter the whole time. Anyway, so the bodies of Mama Renee and baby Renee, No, Mama Renee makes it sound like it's his mama.
We call
Mrs.
her Mama
Renee.
L.
If you want to know how we feel about women getting names, go listen to episode 2. There's an extensive rant on it.
Yes. Frustrated me so much. I tried to hold back on this episode, but anyway. No, I'm just gonna name them. I'm gonna name it Elizabeth.
Lizard.
And no, it's not Lizard. No. Elizabeth and Jenny is the only name I can think of that's a fucking terrible name. I'm so sorry if your name's Jenny. Look, Ariel, because I have an Ariel thing on my desk right now. Okay, so Elizabeth is the mom, Ariel's the daughter. So the policeman came inside and he found Elizabeth and Ariel like dead. They had both been beaten to the point of being unrecognizable, which damn son. And super cute, one of Ariel's eyes was on the floor nearby, just chilling on the floor, not in her head anymore. Yeah, that's a thing. So Elizabeth's eyes had also been gouged. Is it gouged or gouged?
Gouged, yes.
Gouged. So Elizabeth's eyes had also been gouged out, and they were found in the folds of the scarf around her neck. So Ariel's eye was like, fuck this bitch, we're gonna put it on the floor. But Elizabeth's eyes, they were like, flip, flip.
I have heard this case before, and once again have just but again, it's the same. It's the same as Candyman, though. I've heard it, but I've just locked it away in the recesses of my brain and forgotten everything about it. But just the mention of the eyes brought. I was like,
Scarf.
as soon as you said one eye was on the floor, I'm like, the others were in a scarf, weren't they? That's the only thing I remember.
Well then, fuck you. Moving on.
I don't like it.
Well, look, the police were like, what the fuck? Let's go find the maids and see if they're also dead. They weren't. They were just upstairs in their room, in the same bed, just vibing.
Yeah, this
And
is
they were
definitely
like-
the one that I'm thinking of, because I was like, actually, weren't the sisters like weirdly close, like share a bed
Yeah.
close? Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
It kind of gets weirder. Like, we're right about them.
Well, I need another beer because this one has like 3 mouthfuls in it, meaning it's about to be empty because of what you're doing to me. So give me like 30 seconds. Hang on.
I love the little run. The little like,
That's how I run, which is why I don't run.
Yeah, police came upstairs. They found the Papin sisters just vibing in bed together. Just really say what they were doing, but I assume they were just kind of like lying there chilling. So yeah, when the police got up there, they were like, oh yeah, there's dead bodies downstairs. Yeah, totes us. So's fam. I don't actually think they said sorry. They probably didn't. They were just like, yeah, we killed
But
them.
they definitely said totes us.
Yeah. So, you know, they had a variety of weapons. They used a kitchen knife, a hammer, and a pewter pot. And that was all just vibing at the top of the stairs. So they like murdered the women, took their murder weapons upstairs, popped it by the door, and then went to bed to take a nap. Which, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like murder would be kind of exhausting. So I also would probably take a nap afterwards.
You will use any excuse for napping.
I can't help it that I like sleep, okay?
Fair.
It's my vibe. So anyway, obviously the sisters were arrested because they fucking confessed to murdering people, and they were put in prison, but they were separated, which apparently just did not fucking fly with those girls at all. So Kirstyn, the younger one, became like extremely distressed. She was like freaking the fuck out because she couldn't see Leah. And she was like, oh my God, like she's going like batshit crazy. And then the authorities were like, fuck me, this is a psychopath. Let's just let her see her sister so she calms the fuck down. So they let them see. Kirstyn threw herself at Leah as soon as they were like reunited, and then, oh my god, I forgot about this. And spoke to her in
threw
ways
herself like
that's...
viciously or like
No, like lovingly. She like lovingly threw herself at...
lovingly or
No, you know what's funny is I totally forgot about this, but the next sentence is, and spoke to her in ways that suggested a sexual relationship.
so when they made it out together, they probably
Yeah, they
made
possibly
out
could have
together
made
too.
it out together. Yeah, that's my bad. I forgot about that. So anyway, apparently they are incesty close. So fun times. I think the police were kind of like, this is low-key fucked. Don't really want to put them two together anymore.
Let's be real, they were straight white men. They probably just leaned back and opened a camera and went go at it.
Well, it was the 30s, so they didn't have a camera.
There you go. They didn't have
sketch pad and pencil.
They didn't have access to lesbian porn yet, so of course they would have just been like leaning back.
I mean, also like if they had like a incest kink as well, it would have been their fucking like best day ever. Look, we don't kink shame on this podcast. Anyway, so in July of 1933, so this is like how many months? February, March, April, May, June, July. 6 months. 6 months later, Kirstyn had her turn of like going a little bit cuckoo banana bread, and she like experienced like a fit or an episode. I'm assuming it was like some kind of mental break, possibly from being away from her sister. Plus, she just had like mental issues from like her shitty upbringing and most likely ancestral relationship with her sister. And she tried to gouge her own eyes out, and then had to be put into a straitjacket so she wouldn't. And then apparently, like after that, like psychotic episode or whatever, she was like, you know what? This is low key what happened the day that we killed those ladies. Like what just happened? That's how it happened on that day. So she's like, I just feel like I can't be like tried for that kind of shit. So that, I think that was partially used as their defense during the trial. So the girls turned around during the trial and they were like, and we had an argument with Kirstyn, so it's the baby sister. The baby sister and the ladies had an argument. And then Leah came in and was like, what the fuck? And then Kirstyn apparently turned around to Leah and was like, tear her eyes out, in reference to Elizabeth, who's the mum. And then
what is their thing with eyes?
I don't know. It's kind of creepy.
Like, do they do anything with the eyes, or are they just...
Well, no, they literally just put like Elizabeth's eyes in her scarf, and then like they took out one of Ariel's eyes and just like fucking threw it on the floor.
Maybe they just had their eye on her scarf.
Boy.
But it's interesting that they only took out one of Ariel's eyes and not the other.
Yeah, I was like slightly confused about that. Like, because like obviously from what it sounds like, they had the argument, and like so Kirstyn and the women were arguing, and then Leah's come in and been like, oh, like what are we doing, guys? And then Kirstyn's just straight up and like fucking tear that bitch's eyes out, hate that hoe. And then Leah, being the like ride or die sister that she is like, yeah, fuck this bitch. And like attacked her and took out her eyes. And then I'm assuming I think maybe while Leah was doing it to the mom, maybe Kirstyn went to start doing it to the daughter, but Kirstyn didn't have the same like kind of like, I don't know, same chops as Leah, and couldn't really like go through with it. So she like popped out one and then was like, ugh, this is fucking gross. Because then like the next part of it says that like while that was kind of happening, Kirstyn went to the kitchen to grab like the knife and shit like that so they could finish off the women. Oh, ew. Also, yeah, the sisters gouged their eyes out with their hands and fingers.
They didn't
like,
even. They didn't
They
even
didn't
like
use
a
anything.
spoon.
No, so
like you
no.
would think.
So that's what I mean. Like,
Maybe
I
2
legit think it
spoons?
was like Kirstyn was like, fuck that hoe, take out her eyes, and then Leah was like, yeah, fuck this bitch, and like, and then maybe like Kirstyn was like, this is fucking nasty. I'm gonna go get like a knife and shit. So she fucked off to go get weapons, while Leah was fucking up the mom, and then Leah, like, I don't know, I'm speculating. Kirstyn came back in and was like, yo, Leah, here's a knife, bestie, here's a hammer, and then they like fucked those ladies up. Like, it's just, it ain't great.
No, it doesn't sound like fun. I feel like I want to wash my hands just thinking about it. Ew.
I know, right? I wonder if they had like short nails as well, because I feel like having
that
long
was
nails
my
help.
thought.
Like getting the eye out. Where like, would you start from like this part where your nose is, or would you start from like the out? I think I'd start from this side where the nose is.
Also, I'm wondering what it would feel. I'm assuming it would feel like squishing a peel. Don't try and gouge your own eye out on
I'm not
air.
gonna gouge my own eye out. I'm just like testing. Like, also, like, they would have to like hold the bitch's eye open.
Yeah.
The eyelid would get in the way.
I'm wondering if it would feel like if what would it feel like? I'm picturing like a peeled tomato.
Your eyeball?
And squeezing it.
It's kind of squishy.
Yeah.
Why is it spicy? I like, my finger was like, I was so focused on my finger squishing my eye. Right. And then like where my finger was touching, it was like burny.
All right, stop fingering your eyeball.
I'm crying now. I literally, oh my God, I'm just gonna be crying. I thought, okay. Anyway, so like medical testimony during the trial revealed that Kirstyn, who is the younger one, was a little bit smarter, and so she was the dominant one, which makes sense because she literally told her sister to tear someone's eyes out, and her sister fucking did it.
Which is interesting because you would assume that it would be the older sister. One.
Right? That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Because I think I read through it without looking at the ages first, and I was like, oh, so Kirstyn must be like the older one, and Leah must be the younger one. But
she's just doing what older sister's saying, but nope.
Just long, yeah, no, yeah. Leah was of low intelligence.
Well, yeah, because she's a woman.
And apparently her personality like virtually disappeared into Kirstyn's personality. So I imagine it was like Kirstyn, and then Leah. And then also like it came out a bit that there was like mental illness in the family, a history of it, obviously. And then there was also some rumors that their dad had raped their older sister, the nun, which kind of makes sense as to why she went into the nunnery.
About the nun.
Fuck that shit. So obviously the two girls were found guilty because they fucking confessed to it, and like who the fuck else would have done it? Mm-hmm. Kirstyn, because she was the mastermind and like the bitch who kind of like started it all, she was sentenced to death, whereas Leah was only given a sentence of 10 years because she basically was just doing what her sister told her to do.
How'd they kill her?
It was like a little bit
aggressive. Because there's so many different ways to sentence someone to death, but also I hear French death sentence and my brain immediately goes guillotine.
No, mood, but because she had a vagina, her death sentence was commuted to life imprisonment. So, you know. It's literally what it was. It was because she was a woman. She apparently couldn't be killed for her crimes, even though she was a fucking murderer.
There you go. So your womanhood makes you unworthy of everything, including the death penalty.
Ah, selfish. Hey, but yeah, and then like while she was in prison, apparently she actually like showed signs of madness. That's what it says. And I was like, I'm pretty sure she showed signs of madness when she fucking gouged someone's eyes out. But
Same. What are you
and
talking about?
then she had an intense longing for her sister. Yeah, rapey, right? She became really super depressed. She would like stop eating because depression, and we've all been there.
Fucking
And then
rude.
she was transferred to a mental asylum instead of being imprisoned. And then she died of, I can't say this properly, I apologize, of cachexia, which basically just means wasting away. So she literally just like stopped eating, stopped functioning as a human because she was without her sister and she was in an asylum. And so she died in May of 1937. Whereas Leah, she was released from prison in 1941. Her sentence was reduced to 8 years because she was a good little prisoner girl.
Yeah. I actually had this rant the other night in regards to good behavior.
In prisons.
In prison when sentences are shortened because of good behavior. That if it is a sexual crime, a violent crime, or anything involving children, of course they are going to be showing good behavior in prison because you've literally removed the factors of their crime.
Literally, though, because like there's all men prisons, there's no children in prisons, there's none of those triggers for what they want to be doing. And it's also like they're probably like, if I be good, then I can get out and I can do it again.
Exactly. So I don't remember what the context of it was. We were watching something and there was mention of a release because of good behavior. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
Of course there was good behavior because you've removed all of the factors that led to the crime. Like if it's alcoholic with drug abuse problems that is violent towards women and they're in prison where they don't have access to alcohol, drugs, or women, yeah, they're going to be well behaved. So
they can get back out. But yeah,
then they're going to get out and they'll be like, hey,
this bitch didn't like Leah didn't kill any more people, so I guess like it's kind of okay that she was let out 2 years early.
Well, her factor, I suppose, was also removed permanently in that.
Yeah, because
she was no longer around her sister. Yeah.
So she fucked off to a town of I'm not gonna say it. It starts with an N. I would read it Nantes, or Nantes, but that's probably wrong. So whatever. Where her mom ended up joining her, and she became a maid again. This time in a hotel, under a false name, because obviously no one would want to fucking hire her after becoming like the fucking killer maid. And then apparently there's some question as to when she actually died. So some reports say that she died in 1982. But then in 2000, a French filmmaker, Claude Ventura, questioned this and was like, nah, I found this bitch. She's actually alive in hospice and she has been paralyzed because of a stroke and she can't speak or anything like that. So I don't know. But either way, this other Leah that he claims was her, she died in 2001 anyway. So then there's like not really any documentation to say it was Leah. So either way, both of the Papin sisters are dead. So, and there's also like a bunch of like books and movies, an opera, a magazine article, a short film.
You were going to say like a whole magazine just about this case. I was
sorry, magazine article. So like there's like a whole bunch of things about this particular story. There's also a song as well.
Are you going to sing it to me?
No, I don't know the words. It's called Anna Le Bon. And it's a spoken song.
Is it a song or is it a nursery rhyme? Because if it's a nursery rhyme, I'm going to find the words and I'm going to give it to Sunshine because she's really into
I can find out
really
for
into
you.
nursery rhymes right now.
Oh my god! I also just realized. Oh no, it's fine. I thought they're mentioned in the book Lady Killers, and I was trying to remember if that's the book I had like across from me, but it's not. I have evil women.
Me too.
Deadlier than the male. Yeah, because they're not little bitches.
Yeah, because it's usually men kill for like.
Men kill for stupid reasons, women kill for smart reasons.
And the way they do it is very different as well. I mean, I don't think you could really say that after you just talked about a case where we have no idea why they killed these women.
I did say it was slightly mysterious. Well, I think it was literally just Kirstyn was having a fight, didn't like what these bitches were saying to her, so she was like, you know what? Fuck you. I'ma fuck you up. And then she fucked them up a little bit too hard.
She says right after saying, women kill for smarter reasons than men.
You got me there. You've got me there.
Yeah, I'm generally right. You should know this by now.
Oh, I don't know if I go that far. But yeah, I kind of want to check out maybe one of the films of it. Like one's called Sister My Sister, which I think would be kind of interesting. Also, I just low-key think it's interesting because I have two sisters.
You do. And how many people have you guys murdered together?
That's classified information.
It's for a later episode. That's a case you'll cover later on. This week, my case is both speculation and devastation. There's not a lot of speculation that I can actually do though. So I'm gonna be honest. I think I bit off more than I could chew with this one between work and all of the stuff related to the podcast and then just life in general. Kind of got a bit bogged down, and so I have a lot of information about the majority of it, but once I get to the theories, there was so much information and so many differing thoughts that I'm going to have to revisit this later on, but we'll get to that. We'll burn that bridge. We'll burn that bridge when we get to it. So when we were first talking about starting a podcast and I was making up my list of mysteries that I wanted to cover once we'd determined that's what I would be doing, I asked Matteo for any Italian mysteries because I probably hadn't heard of them. And he listed a few, and this one in particular caught my eye as I'd never heard of it before, but it was also really interesting. It's also very brutal. Should apply some trigger warnings here. I just don't really know what to class the trigger warnings as. I suppose sexual assault and genital mutilation.
Oh.
It's not great. I will also put this out there. This is technically a true crime case. And while there were some convictions made, it's still also technically a mystery. So I'm not actually cutting your grass because it's still free game and I'm claiming it.
Okay. Look, you know what? I'll let you have it because you have an Italian boyfriend.
Yeah, exactly. So this story takes place in the province of Florence, fucking hell. In the province of, yeah. This story takes place in the province of Florence, which as of 2015 is actually referred to as a metropolitan city. But from what I've been told, that pretty much means exactly the same thing. It's just slightly more important, has some more perks to it. So it doesn't make much of a difference, which is in the region of Tuscany. I did have a slight...
Tuscan sun.
Yes, I did have a slight freak out because when I Googled Florence to get some information, it brought up that it was a city in the region of Tuscany. And I'm like, wait, region? Do they not have provinces? And remember when I talked about the deadly dancing plague, and I mentioned Taranto and called it a county, then corrected myself and was like, wait, no, they don't have counties, they have provinces. So I was like, fuck, is it not a province? What is it? No, so it is. I was still correct. Basically, the way that Italy works is Italy is made up of 20 regions, which are then made up of provinces. There's 107 provinces in total as of 2016. That includes the metropolitan cities. And then those provinces are made up of cities. So if I were to compare it to Australia, a region would basically be a state, a province would be a council region, and then a city would be a city. So Redcliffe would be a city in the province of the Moreton Bay region, in the province of the Moreton Bay Council, which would then be in the region of Queensland. Just, you know, with like vastly different proportions. So Florence is technically a city within the province of Florence. I will be talking about the province, not the city.
Okay.
Yeah. That's why
I'm slightly confused, but I'm there.
Because some of this, a lot of this takes place in cities within the province of Florence, not the city of Florence.
Okay.
Yeah. And before I start, I'm going to do our favorite thing and have some fun facts. I was only planning to grab like one or two, but I'm not gonna lie, when I started taking my notes, I almost considered throwing my case out the window altogether and just having my whole segment be the mystery of why Florence is so cool and I'm not there. So I have a few. I have a couple.
You're poor.
Yeah. I don't have a passport. I don't speak Italian.
Oh my god, me neither.
All right. So some fun facts about Florence. The city of Florence was actually the capital city of the Kingdom of Italy at one point, from 1865 to 1870, and then Rome became the capital, which I thought was interesting.
Is that because of good old Julius?
Possibly. I don't know. There still is, sorry. There is a bridge called Ponte Vecchio, which literally translates to Old Bridge, which is an iconic landmark. And there's actually like a fun little legend rumor about the history of that bridge. So during World War II, the German army was occupying Florence and then they were forced out by the Allies. And while they were fleeing, they bombed all of the bridges out of Florence, except for that one. That was the only one left standing. And
You just really like that bridge in particular?
The legend goes that Hitler himself really took a liking to that bridge, so he spared it. It is actually a gorgeous bridge. Like I've seen, I saw photos of it. I'm just
imagining like the like order down to it. Like the general's like, all right, you know what? Fuck these bitches. We're gonna bomb all the bridges. And then he's like, actually, you know what? You see that bridge right there? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, Hitler likes that one. We got to keep that one.
Yeah, that's. And
then they're all like,
bridge.
What?
Florence, the city, was the first city in Europe to pave their streets. So it's a little bit of a trendsetter. And Florence, the province, was the birthplace of a couple things. So Leonardo da Vinci, gelato, the statue of David, Pinocchio, the piano.
Piano, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
The fashion brand Gucci.
That makes sense.
Modern opera, and to an extent, what we now know as the Italian language. So I found that and I was like, is that true? And then was talking to Matteo about it and he's like, yes and no. So the way it was explained to me was Up until the 14th century, there was no universal language in Italian in Italy. They all had different dialects within like the regions and the provinces. But
Oh, so like similar to like most places historically.
yeah, but Dante, as in Inferno Dante, wrote his
Only
works.
Dante I know.
Yeah, okay, well, I wasn't sure. He wrote his works in Florentine, and so it was kind of known as the language of poetry. But then
That's cute.
obviously they needed a universal dialect, and so the language of the province of Florence, which is Florentine, and the language of another province in Tuscany, Siena, which I believe was Sienese. I probably just butchered that. Sorry. Those two dialects combined became the base of what we now know as Italian, more or less. That's the way it was explained to me. I probably fucked that up, and I have one last fun fact. It's a very important fun fact. So I don't know if fun is really the word I would use. I have one very important fucked fact.
Oh, a fucked fact, my favorite.
Between 1974 and 1985, 14 people fell victim to an unidentified serial killer, possibly another 2 in 1968. A killer known as Il Mostro di Firenze, or the Monster of Florence, which, if you didn't already guess, is the topic of my case. So we will be talking about Il Mostro di Firenze, who I'm just going to refer to as the monster from here on out.
That's fun.
So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all of the murders and the victims. I am going to do it a specific way though. So as I said, between 1974 and 1985 is when the monster was known to be active. During that time, there were 7 attacks and 14 victims. But there is also a solved murder of 2 people from 1968 that is believed to be connected to the case. So I'm going to go through the known attacks in order first, and then I'll touch on the 1968 murders last.
Okay.
Also, so that I don't have to go into it every time, I am just going to cover the specifics on the monster's MO that didn't, his modus operandi. It's what MO stands.
Because no, I know. I was gonna say it, but I couldn't remember it properly. So I was like, no, keep your mouth shut.
Yeah. So some specifics on the monster's MO. It was pretty much always the same. I will only then comment on the parts that differ from attack to attack so that I don't have to go into each time this happened and this happened and this happened. So all of the attacks were on couples in parked cars in isolated areas late at night. I also saw mention that they were all on moonless nights. So it was really dark when people wouldn't have work the next day, such as a weekend or a holiday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, bestie, look, he can't be out killing people if he's got work in the morning, okay? He needs his 8 hours.
Exactly. Or in your case, 12.
Just really like sleep.
So Italians tend to live at home until marriage, which obviously limits alone time and privacy between couples. So at the time, and apparently it still is the case from what I've been told, it is commonplace for couples to go get hot and heavy and do the do in parked cars.
That's cute.
So the monster's MO was that once the couple began getting intimate, the monster would make his move and shoot both before stabbing them.
So he wouldn't even like wait for them to finish?
Well, they'd be
like mid-coitus.
I don't know if it was like once they'd fully started doing the do, but it was, once they were distracted and not aware of their surroundings.
Once they were a little bit too into each other compared to their surroundings.
Yeah. So that's pretty much the base MO. And then, yeah, there's some
Alright, so
other
we'd walk
not
up and be
great
like,
stuff that happens.
Pew, pew! Stab, stab!
So I'm just going to dive straight in. I'm not used to being the one that causes this pain, so I'm really sorry, but here goes nothing. I will do my best with pronunciation as well. I did check it, but it's me. I'm probably still going to fuck it up. I'll still do better than Kirstyn did with the avocado case, though. I at least tried and double checked my pronunciation, even if
you know what?
I've forgotten
Look,
it
just
since.
because my trying and your trying are vastly different doesn't mean you need to shit on me.
I'm sorry in advance. On Saturday, the 14th of September, 1974, 18-year-old Stefania Pettini and 19-year-old Pasquale Gentilcore were parked in a car in a country lane outside of Borgo San Lorenzo. This was a spot that they frequented, and their bodies were found the next morning. Pasquale was in the driver's seat leaning against the door, and Stefania had been removed from the car and was found undressed, lying in the grass. She had 97 surface stab wounds, like she'd just been pricked with the tip of the knife, and had been violated with a grapevine or olive branch. I saw
what the fuck?
Like I said, it's gonna get worse. So it was determined that a .22 caliber Beretta pistol loaded with Winchester Series H bullets, which are stamped with a distinctive H on the back, had been used for
poor planning.
had been used for the shooting, and the bullets had a distinctive mark on them made by a defective firing pin.
It's like he's trying to get caught.
I mean, more or less. On Saturday, the 6th of June, 1981, Carmela Danuccio, age 21, and 30-year-old Giovanni Faggi were parked on
They were parked where, sorry? On a
dirt road. Were parked on a dirt road near Scandici. This also was a location that they frequented. Again, their bodies were found the next morning, and similarly to the previous attack, Giovanni was in the driver's seat, half clothed, and Carmela was found outside of the car in a state of undress with a gold chain between her lips. I'm sorry. Her pubic area had been removed with a knife and taken from the scene.
Oh my God. I just like grabbed my vagina being like, oh, I'm not gonna lie. My hands are like covering me hoo-ha right now.
Fair.
Like,
so reports state that this was done with such precision and expertise, it looked to be the work of a surgeon. And
I'm going to say artist for a second. And I was like, that's not artistry.
It was a masterpiece. I shouldn't be laughing. This is awful. Awful. Given the sexual nature of the crime, it was also surprising that he had not sexually assaulted the woman.
I feel like cutting off the fucking top of her vag is a form of sexual assault.
You're not, I mean...
She wasn't penetrated.
Yes, there was no intercourse. It basically appeared that he had completely avoided touching her other than for the sake of the mutilation.
is Bestie like gay and just like fucking mad at vaginas? Because it's not our fault, mate.
Possibly. From here on out, I'm just going to refer to that act as mutilation.
Oh,
'Cause-
cool. So he does it lots more times.
It becomes a ritual, which I also refer to it as that. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
like I said, it gets worse.
You weren't kidding when you said you had a really bad case.
No.
I'm gonna get you back to a really fucked up one next week.
Okay, that's fine. So it was evident that the same gun and the same bullets had been used in this attack as the one in 1974.
Yeah,
Not-
he basically fucking signed his name.
And it's worth noting that it's not only the same bullets, but that the bullets came from the same box. Like it was the same.
Do they have like serial numbers and that's how they can tell?
I don't know. I'm not a ballistics expert. I have shot a gun before, but that's the extent.
You have?
Yeah. I went to the shooting range a couple of years ago.
Ah, with the god and the small tie-dye.
No.
No, didn't they go after work one day? Oh, you know,
Not
wasn't
that
when
I'm
you
not
went?
that I'm aware of. They probably have, but I went with my ex. So yeah, it was evident the same gun and bullets were used, and a voyeur or peeping Tom named Enzo Spalletti was actually overheard talking about the murders and the bodies before it had been reported to the public. So
That's sketch as shit.
yeah. So because of this, he was taken into custody under suspicion of being the monster, and he spent 3 months in jail. He was later cleared when the monster attacked again while he was behind bars. And that is a recurring pattern in this case as well.
So what, like someone gets put behind bars and then the monster's like, haha, didn't catch me, bitch, and kill
Yep.
someone else?
Pretty much. So on Thursday, the 22nd of October, 1981, 24-year-old Susanna Camby and 26-year-old Stefano Baldi were parked on a country road in Colanzano. This was not a location that they frequented.
Oh.
Again, the bodies were found the next morning. However, unlike the previous murders, Stefano was actually found outside of the car in just a shirt and underwear. And Susanna had been carried to a nearby area and received the same mutilation as Carmela, which, like I said, appeared to be a ritual at this point. However, this attack actually stood out as not matching the pattern of the previous attacks, seeing as it took place on a Thursday instead of a Saturday. So the theory at this time, similar to what
Maybe he
you
had a
alluded
sick day.
to, was that the monster attacked on Saturdays because he was a working killer, meaning he would attack on a day where he didn't have to get up for work, on a night where he didn't have to get up for work the next day, and he had all the time in the world.
Yeah.
However, it is also worth noting that the day following this attack, while it was a Friday, it was also the same day as a labor strike. So most Italians didn't have work that day anyway. So it's still possible that he was a working killer. It's also
Well,
worth
he's probably
noting,
one of the people.
fun drinking game idea, guys. Drink every time I say, I mean,
It's
or
worth.
it's worth noting, because listening back, editing these, I was like, holy shit, I say that a lot. And it's not intentional. But, you know, if you want to drink, have fun. I mean, go for
I
it.
want to drink.
I am drinking, so. It's also worth noting that all other attacks took place in summer, while this one took place in autumn. So and it was also committed on a night that wasn't completely moonless. So it is worth fucking hell. These factors together fueled the belief that this attack was more rushed than the previous attacks and took place kind of to make a point that, hey, you've got the wrong guy, you're giving someone else credit for my work.
Yeah,
So
so he was just kind of like sitting there and he was mad that they were like, oh, we captured the monster, like it's all good. And he was like, you know what? Fuck you.
yeah.
You didn't.
So Enzo Spalletti was released after this attack. So I'm guessing because I mean, he was a voyeur and he did frequent that area to watch people in cars. I'm guessing that he spotted the bodies while he was out and was talking to someone about it, which also not great, mate. Like,
yeah, why wouldn't you like contact the
report
police?
it. I'm assuming he didn't want to have to explain why he was in the area, which I mean, if you're doing the wrong thing,
I like to watch other people have sex.
Yeah.
But I didn't kill anyone.
Porn existed at this time. It's not like the 30s in your case where there was no porn yet. Just, I mean, he probably couldn't pull out his phone
Was
and
it like
go to Pornhub.
porn?
I don't know. I wasn't alive in the 80s.
It was probably like DVD porn. We had to like go to the
They
shop.
didn't have DVDs in the 80s.
Fine, VCRs. VCR porn. I think VCR porn is still out there. Like if I went to eBay right now, do you...
Possibly. One would assume, I guess. But do you have a VCR player to watch it on?
I think I got rid of it because it was like dead.
It's fine. Just go watch people fuck in their car instead, like this guy. It's free live
They're
porn.
called videotapes, aren't they? Videotape.
Video cassettes.
Cassette porn.
Anyway, I'm going to keep telling my story while you Google porn.
No exact matches found.
So on Saturday, the 19th of June, 1982, Antonella Migliorini, I've butchered that. I can't even. 19-year-old and 22-year-old Paolo Minardi were parked near some bushes in, I forgot this one.
I believe in you, Jeramie. You can do it.
Bacciano? I think
Bacciano?
I think it was Bacciano.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Bacciano. I'm trying. So yeah, they were parked near some bushes, and this was not an area that they frequented, and it was also not a secluded area either. It was visible from the road. So this was a somewhat busy road. Like it wasn't a main road where cars were going down it constantly, but cars did go past. And this spot they specifically chose due to Antonella's fear of the monster.
Oh, come on. This poor bitch.
So, yeah. And this attack also stands out from the others in that it was essentially interrupted, not completed.
Oh.
So I don't know about
this. He got interrupted before the mutilation.
I don't know about the specifics, but from what I can piece together, yes.
I'm sorry, I just realized I forgot to ask, was the mutilation done before or after she was dead?
I believe after. So the way it appears to me from what I've read and watched, he would shoot them through the window of the car while they were in the car. Then he would enter the vehicle and stab them to death. He would finish them off with the knife. And
then drag them out and,
choppy. Where am I?
Sorry.
Not in Florence, that's for sure. Yes. So it was the attack was interrupted. So from what I've been able to piece together, the monster began his attack, but Paolo was able to make an attempt to escape. So he turned on the ignition of the car and he started to pull away, but he did so in reverse. I think because of the position of the car or because of where the monster was coming from, I'm not certain. And he actually
trying to fucking put it into anything.
True. Well, I mean, he was trying to put it into something, if you know what I mean. It's not the only crime that got interrupted.
Oh my god.
So yeah, he managed to he was struck by a bullet in the process, might I add, of trying to reverse away. And he did start to pull away and managed to get the car across the road, but then its back wheels got stuck in a ditch and it couldn't move any further.
Fuck's sake.
So the monster then shot them both and pretty much quickly fled the scene. So he didn't have time to stab either victim or mutilate. He murdered them, but he didn't have time to mutilate Antonella. Like I said, this was a somewhat busy road, so he just hightailed it out of there.
He got out of Dodge.
So when the victims were discovered, Paolo was actually still breathing. And he was taken to the hospital. He was the only victim of the monsters ever to be found still alive. But unfortunately, upon arrival to the hospital, he shortly died thereafter.
Yeah, I was going to say, you still said victim. You didn't say survivor.
Either way, he was a victim, whether he survived or not.
No, I know, but I feel like you would have said he was the only survivor, but
Yeah.
you said he was the only victim.
However, the prosecutor, Silvia Della Monica, used this to her advantage. So she had the media claim that he had awoken and had been able to speak a few words before he passed and had given them a lead, which the media then printed, despite it being a total falsity, which is
Fake news.
It is. It's fake news. It's a smart tactic.
No,
Shortly after this attack, authorities received an envelope containing a newspaper clipping, which I'm not going to get into right now. We'll touch more on the specifics of that a bit later on. But more or less, it turned their suspicions towards two particular men, brothers Francesco and Salvatore, which I have to mention, I put in my notes specifically that Salvatore ends with an AY sound, not as in Damon and Stefan, because I kept reading it as Salvatore.
I'm not gonna lie, I probably would have done the exact same thing.
Literally. So I had to put a reminder there to remind me that I'm not talking about Damon, which is unfortunate. I want to talk about Damon.
Pretty.
Brothers Francesco and Salvatore Vinci. Even more odd was that following the false information leaked to the media, Francesco's car was found hidden in the woods in the south of Tuscany. So the prosecutor believed that he had fallen for her ruse and had been worried that his car may have been identified by Paolo and taken measures to hide it. He was then taken into custody on suspicion of being the monster. On Friday, the 9th of September in 1983, two German tourists, so I couldn't even use Matteo to my advantage to learn how to say these, and I'm gonna mess this up big time because I have no clue with German. I think I have this.
I believe in you.
On Friday, the 9th of September in 1983, two German tourists, 24-year-old Jens Uwe Rusch and 24-year-old Wilhelm Friedrich Heustmeyer. I'm sorry if I butchered that. I don't know.
They sound okay.
I'll go with it. They were parked in a VW camper van in Galazzo. It is important to note here that these were actually both men. However, Mayer's slight build and long blonde hair may have led to them being mistaken for a het couple. Both were shot from outside the vehicle, and it appears that upon entering the vehicle to finish the job, the monster became aware of the fact that his victims were both male. So he did kill them both, but he obviously left the scene without partaking in his ritual. And
because he only likes the pubes from women.
I also read that he went to the extent of tearing up the gay pornography magazines in their camper van and scattering it outside the vehicle.
Someone's having an internal struggle with their sexuality.
A few months later, headlines read, "There are two monsters," except in Italian. And Giovanni Mele and Piero Mucciarini were taken into custody under suspicion and Francesco was released. So on Sunday, the 29th of July, 1984, 18-year-old Pia Rontini and 21-year-old Claudio Stefanacci were parked in a woodland area of Vicchio, which was their usual spot. And this attack followed the usual pattern, both shot and stabbed to death, and Pia was dragged from the car and the ritual performed. However, this time the monster took the mutilation further by also removing...
Oh no, no, her titties.
I'm sorry, your wording just threw me there.
Did you cut off her boobs?
I've worded this so delicately and you just go, not her titties. By also removing her left breast.
Just her left one? It's probably the bigger one. Oh my god. I know this is like a murder case, but this is how I'm dealing with it, man.
That's fair. That's fair. Yes, just the left one. Again, the men in custody were released as an attack had occurred while they were behind bars. On Sunday, the 8th
Maybe
of
it's just like a little gang of people doing it.
There is some question about the date of this one, so it's unsure if it happened on Saturday, the 7th of September, or Sunday, the 8th of September. But on that weekend in 1985, French tourists Nadine Moreau, 36, and 25-year-old Jean-Michel Cravicville. I forgot to look that one up. I knew I was going to have difficulty with that one. Okay, so I can't really talk about you in Mexico anymore, can I?
Yeah, bitch.
Jean-Michel Cravicville were camping in Via Scapetti, and they had pitched a tent near their car. So it's worth noting that of the last 3 attacks, 2 of the 3 couples were tourists, and that's kind of testament to the fact that at this point, locals were too scared to be out doing the do. And I mean, from what I've read, it seems that there was a lot of like warning and signage and stuff urging tourists not to put themselves at risk because of the danger, but it doesn't sound like they listened. And I mean, they weren't there for the past few years, seeing and hearing all of the panic relating to this.
Yeah, they're probably just kind of like, it's fine.
Yeah. It's like how foreigners here who come and visit like Australia don't believe us about the danger of drop bears until they become a victim of them.
And then they like fucking they come down. They drop in, if you will. So many lives.
Too many lost to drop bears. So basically he got into their tent. And he shot and stabbed Nadine to death in the tent, while Jean-Michel did manage to attempt an escape and make a run for it because he was an avid sprinter. But it sounds like he didn't get far because he was also killed a short distance from the campsite. The monster then...
Why did he get into the tent to kill her, though? Like, he could have shot her from the outside and then shot the dude.
Well, it's not like
and then did the stabby stab.
See through the windows to aim. So one way or the other, he had to like
a fucking tent. Just go.
He then returned to the tent to perform his ritual on Nadine, and another envelope was delivered. This time directly to the prosecutor, containing Nadine's nipple.
Oh my god!
This was seemingly a taunt and a challenge to find the latest victims. However, that didn't take long because they'd actually already been discovered a few hours prior by someone picking mushrooms. So that was the last of the monster's attacks. There is still one other attack that I need to acknowledge and talk about. We're going to run out of time, aren't we? All right, so I'm going to be completely honest. Our time management skills suck.
Okay, anyone
So
listening to this that knows me is just going to be sitting there and be like, Kirstyn, time management.
yeah, literally.
Oh,
So there may be kind of a bit of a disjoint in the audio here. I'm not sure. So I'm just going to acknowledge it up front. It's tomorrow. Like, it's a different day. We both had shit to do and we took too long recording and had to end halfway through my story. So we're back the next day. Not sorry about it.
Shady's back.
For anyone wondering,
is back.
the dinner at the Italian restaurant was really nice.
Oh my God, yes.
There was like a charcuterie board to begin with, which was really nice. There was like this fig jam on it. And it had a little bowl of black olives, and neither Reese or Mateo like olives, and I love olives. So I like had them in front of me and kept eating the olives. Homie came to take the plate away. And he was like, are we all good with drinks? Do you want me to take any other plates? And then he watches, and I'm literally sitting there like some kind of
like Gollum,
some kind of goblin with this little bowl of olives in front of me, and just my hands over it. And he's like, something tells me you don't want me to take the olives. And I'm like, they can stay.
No, sir, please don't take my olive.
Mateo kept referring to the cheese as angels come, which was kind of off-putting, but it was really nice cheese.
Okay, like in his defense, if it's really good cheese,
yeah,
I feel like angels come would be heavenly.
We're gonna jump in and finish off this case. Obviously, the people listening remember what has been going down because it's just happened for them maybe like a couple minutes ago.
For me, it's 24 hours.
Do you remember where we're up to and what's been going on?
We have just finished going through the 80s
Yes.
murders, and we're going on to the 60s murders that you didn't want to mention at the beginning because someone else was convicted for them.
The prosecutor was mailed Nadine's nipple.
Yeah, ew.
Yeah.
No wonder we have so many regulations on post now. Fuck me. Back in the day, you can mail someone's nipple.
Well, the envelope also had like, I don't know if the envelope was actually mailed or if it was just kind of slipped into a mailbox, because it wasn't addressed by hand or anything either. It was like ransom note style addressing. So they'd cut letters out of magazines and stuff and stuck it to the front. I mean, you can identify typewriters and stuff. I don't know.
Okay, but you can identify magazine clippings, can't you? I know, I'm thinking of Bodyguard. What a fucking excellent movie. Have you not seen that movie?
No.
Oh my God, it has Whitney Houston and Kevin Costner in it. Bruh!
You're gonna find that there's a lot of movies I haven't seen, Kirstyn.
I don't. Yeah, you continue to disappoint me with your movie knowledge. It's Whitney Houston.
I am aware.
Kevin Costner. Oof. Kevin
Costner. Yeah, there's a lot of movies you'll find that I haven't seen. TV shows, different story, but I somehow still have quite a lot of knowledge about a lot of things. If you ask me about true crime documentaries, I can list off a few.
Yeah, but you don't know about the greatest movie. That's the greatest movie of all time. It's a fucking excellent movie, but
yeah. The greatest movie of all time would probably be
Shrek.
I mean, I was going to say either Clueless or House Bunny.
Oh my God, I love both those movies.
Yes.
Fuck oath. Oh,
two of my favorites.
Classics.
Also Zoolander.
Oh my God, so funny. Anyway, murder.
Yes. Okay. So
mailed nipple.
So yes, obviously that was the last of the monsters' attacks, and as you already mentioned, there is another attack that I need to acknowledge and talk about, which occurred in 1968. So remember yesterday I mentioned the envelope that authorities received in 1982 with a newspaper clipping, not the nipple one, the other one.
Yeah.
So following the fake news leak that he'd woken up and spoken. Yeah. So that newspaper clipping was from the summer of 1968, and it detailed a murder. And on that newspaper clipping, there was a written note suggesting that the police take. No. So there was a written note suggesting that the police take another look at the case in question. So they did, and they found some interesting connections. But it's also worth noting that this was a solved case in which there had been both a confession and a conviction. So on Wednesday, the 21st of August in 1968, 31-year-old Barbara Loci and 29-year-old Antonio Lobienko were in a parked car in the woods of Lastra Asigna at about midnight. It's important to note that both were married, but not to each other.
Oh.
And that Barbara's 6-year-old son, Natalino, was asleep in the back seat.
Oh, come on, bitch. If you're going to cheat on your husband, fucking leave your kid at home.
At 2 a.m. At 2 a.m. that same night, Natalino rang the doorbell of a house 1 mile or 1.6 kilometers away and asked the surprised owner to take him home as his father was sick and his mother and uncle were both dead in the car.
My God, that's so messed up.
Obviously, this wasn't a situation where it was an actual uncle, but it was like, you know, it's that thing with kids where your family friend, your parents' friends are often.
Well, I mean, also the mum probably needed to call him something to make the kid trust him and feel comfortable enough to just vibe in the car while she was getting that. It's so gross. So I can't even make a joke about it.
So Barbara and Antonio had both been shot dead in the car, and Natalino later recalled that after the shootings, a man had brought him to the house, rang the doorbell, and left him at the door.
Aww.
It was pretty much an open and shut case and was solved very quickly with suspicion very landing.
Ah, yes.
Cool. I write goodly.
So goodly.
So it was pretty much an open and shut case and was solved very quickly with suspicion immediately landing on Stefano. Fuck, I can't.
Wait, is that the same? Stefano.
No.
My brain wants to say
No.
Stefano.
Stefano. Yeah. It was pretty much an open and shut case and was solved very quickly with suspicion immediately landing on Stefano Mele. Not the same Stefano from earlier. I think he was a victim and died.
Oh, yeah, he was. I just remember the name Stefano because every time my brain is like, Stefano.
See, my brain, once again, to connect to Vampire Diaries, keeps just going, oh, Stefan. Who don't like Stefan. Yes, there was another Stefano, Stefano Baldi, who was the victim in the third attack.
That's right.
So no, this was a different Stefano. He was Barbara's husband. He appeared to have had motive given Barbara's extramarital activities with Antonio, among other lovers, and his alibi of being homesick in bed was flimsy at best. He did confess to the murders, though he actually later recanted this confession and accused the Vinci brothers, Salvatore, Francesco, and Giovanni, 3 names that you probably heard me mention earlier as having been suspected and taken into custody at different points in time. So that's why this newspaper clipping suddenly had the suspicion on those brothers.
Okay.
They had all been lovers of Barbara's at one point or another.
Okay, just real quick. If the husband was at home sick, why couldn't the wife leave the kid at home while she went out and cheated on her husband? Like,
I mean,
what? What? Option 1, leave son at home where he is most likely safe because it's his house with his dad. Option 2, take him while I fuck another man and traumatize him. Option 2 it is.
He was asleep. And look, you got to traumatize your
mate.
kids. You got to traumatize your kids somehow.
Oh, fuck me. Some parents are just trying a little bit harder.
Turns out in this case, they didn't traumatize him by fucking in front of him. They traumatized him by being shot dead.
Murdered. But I'm just saying that that trauma wouldn't have happened if she didn't insist on bringing her kid while she cheated.
I don't think she knew she was going to get shot dead, Kirstyn.
Wow, that's a very smart lady. Not because she got murdered, but because she took her fucking kid while she cheated.
Okay, fair. I'm sitting here like, are you trying to victim blame her right now?
No, I'm not victim blaming her. I'm just saying I have a little less respect for the dead because she took her 6-year-old child to fornication station.
How many different stations are on this train?
Okay, look. Well, I mean, realistically, there can be a lot. Isn't there a
yeah.
train that goes from like Sydney to Brisbane or some shit? Can you imagine how many stations there would be along that line?
Yeah, there's probably some people making a stop at fornication station on that line too.
I would. Fuck that. Oh my god, I would so have sex on a train. That's so cool.
Like what? Just out in the open, in the middle of the carriage?
No, it would have to be like in one of the little like cabin things. The bathroom. On the like train toilet's like really big. I don't know, I've peed like once because I've peed on a train, I've peed on a plane, I've peed on a bus.
You're very proud of all the places you peed. Giant grin on your face. Like,
dude, I was like, the last time I went on an airplane. No, it wasn't the last time I was on an airplane. It was like one of the first times I went on an airplane. I was getting really upset because I didn't need to go to the bathroom. And I was like, but I want to go to the bathroom on the plane. And then I ended up needing to pee, so it was okay.
The first time my friend Lasagna and I were on the plane together, the plane's taken off and then the drinks trolley ladies come past and she's like, oh, would you like a drink? And I'm like, yeah, I'll have a double whiskey, thanks. And Lasagna's just turned and looked at me and I'm like, what? And she's like, Jeramie, it's 8:30 in the morning. And I'm like,
when in the air, bestie.
I was like,
in the air.
And she's like, isn't it a bit early? And I looked at her and I'm like, dude, we're in a giant metal bird hurtling through the sky that could just drop at any minute. If I'm going to possibly go down, I'm going down with a buzz.
Oh, I've also peed on a boat. Anyway, moving on from pissing and shitting.
How do we always end up here?
I'm slightly concerned.
Oh, yeah.
Right, so Bestie was at home sick, but that's kind of hard to corroborate.
Yes, and so like I said, he confessed, he recanted the confession and tried to finger the brothers instead.
Do we know why he confessed?
He just confessed, and then after he recanted his confession, he did end up confessing again and taking sole responsibility for the murders.
What?
So it is. So like I said at the top, I am kind of going to have to come back to this at another point to go over theories a bit better because.
Okay. This is confusing.
I kind of hit a wall, but.
All right.
One part that I did hear mention of. So Salvatore was brought into custody at some point and he and Stefano crossed paths and basically reports said that it appeared that Salvatore just gave Stefano a look and Stefano immediately was like, yeah, no, I did it. I'm to blame. I can't fully corroborate on that because I didn't really have enough time and resources to get as far into all of the info that I'd like to double check things. So I did hear mention of that. I'm just not 100% certain the specifics and logistics of that. So I'm not entirely certain if his confession was legit or if he felt pressured into it, but yeah, there's a lot. It's confusing. I'll burn that bridge when I get to it.
Okay.
So Stefano's story wasn't the only one that differed from time to time. Natalino's story also differed on a few different occasions.
He's
So
6.
I know he's 6, but like first he says that he saw his father there at the time of the shootings because basically he was asleep and then was awoken by the shootings.
Yeah, makes sense.
And his first story was that he had seen his father there at the time. Then he later said that he didn't see anyone that he recognized. He also initially claimed that a man took him to the house a mile away, but later claimed he walked there of his own accord, which is unlikely as it was pitch black at night and
the closest
it was
house.
in the woods and he was barefoot.
Oh yeah, fuck off. He walked there by himself.
But then he's also said that he can't recall specifics in much of the night as time passes on. So who knows?
Not I can't even remember.
Natalino. So anyway, Stefano was found guilty of this crime and he was sentenced to 14 years in jail. So after hearing this, I have a feeling that you're probably sitting here questioning what exactly this murder has to do with the attacks of the monster.
It's low-key similar.
A little bit.
Has some intertwining humans involved.
Well, so I mean, you look at this case and this time there was a clear motive and a perpetrator was behind bars when the monsters attack, or the perpetrator was behind bars when the monsters attacks began in 1974. So with the information that I've given you, at best, the only similarity is that a couple was killed while sharing an intimate moment in a car in an isolated area.
Really, it doesn't really make much sense.
With that much information, yes. How
much time is it between that murder and the big murders?
Well, that murder occurred in 1968 and the monsters attacks began in 1974. So that's 6 years later. So that's within his 14-year sentence. He was behind bars.
No, I'm talking about the son.
Oh.
Well, 12-y. I wanted to see if he was old enough to commit murder, but I think 12 is probably a bit.
I don't know. You're the one giving murder tips to 6-year-olds.
Okay, that was like one time.
Who's to say that back in 1968 there wasn't another Kirstyn out there?
That's fair.
But like Italian Kirstyn.
Oh my god, she'd be so hot.
Oh, for sure. With the information that I've given you so far, not really much to go off, but I have kind of left out one really important detail that does actually connect the two.
It's the same gun.
The weapon. It was a .22 caliber Beretta pistol loaded with Winchester Series H bullets and had a
H's, and it had the little malfunctioning thingy.
It had a defective firing pin that left a distinctive mark. It was the same gun.
Did they ever recover the gun from the 1968 murders?
Next sentence. At the time of the 1968 murders, it had not been located, and Melee claimed to have dropped it at the scene, and now here it was being used by the monster tormenting Florence. So obviously there is a lot of debate as to whether or not to include this crime as part of the monster's attacks. On the one hand, same gun and bullets were used, victim profile fits, as does the location. On the other hand, this crime had a clear motive. There was no knife used or mutilation.
Maybe the monster's like bestie did the first one, and then the monster was like, you know what, that was pretty enjoyable, but what if we spice it up a little bit?
Possibly, and there is, I can't really go too far into it, but a key reason that also connects those three brothers to suspicion of the monster is that they were linked to like a clan or a gang, the Sardinians. Or Sardinians. I think it's because of a place that they're from.
Oh, okay, because that's making me think about fish.
No, not as in sardines. It's yeah, so they were all found to be in connection or believed to be in connection to the Sardinian clan, and it's believed that possibly Stefano did not commit the murders alone, and the gun was passed off
That
and
makes
handed to
sense.
someone to one of the Vinci brothers or within the clan, and that it continued to stay within the clan. But there's only so far that can get us, and there's only so far that I got in researching
Yeah,
that,
but
so I'm
also,
not gonna.
just because you have a motive to murder someone and they get murdered doesn't necessarily mean you're the one who murdered them.
Yeah, that's true, but also when you confess, it doesn't help
Okay,
your
yeah, that
case.
crackhead is a bit.
And when you don't have an alibi that can be corroborated, which that actually terrifies me, because if I ever
My
were
God,
to be
same.
interviewed,
We both live alone.
yeah, literally, the
Dude.
best that I would have available is, I don't know, I was watching, and it's not like,
Wait.
because back in the day you would be able to say, I was at home watching this program that was on at this time and this happened, because everything was like scheduled TV.
Wait,
and
if
they
you're
could,
watching Netflix though, they would be able to check. Oh, they'd just be able to check your account. That wouldn't necessarily mean
yeah, I don't
anything.
think Netflix actually keeps a watch history, and
Don't
it
you
couldn't confirm that
have
I was the one watching.
Do you have cameras in your complex?
As you like enter and leave, but I use the stairs. I don't use the lobby to go in and out of the elevator. And I'm pretty sure that's the only camera. I'm not sure. I haven't questioned it. I haven't needed the cameras, but who knows? It's, yeah, like they could even possibly like look at my message history, but there's only so much, like, and see, oh, well, yeah,
Do you know
okay, you
this-
definitely were watching Titans, because there are 15 messages in the space of 5 minutes that you've sent to one friend being like, oh my God, this character, oh my God, this thing just happened, oh my God, I know this means nothing to you, but blah, blah, blah. But even that probably wouldn't hold water,
I,
because
on the other hand, would be screwed because I don't talk to people that much. I don't really have anyone, I don't think, that I like consistently message. I must just really fucking slack at replying to people sometimes.
I've noticed.
Because
So there was this anti-monster squad within the police force. I don't actually know when this squad was formed, but following the 1985 murders, it was headed by a new chief inspector. I did learn how to say this yesterday morning, but I have since forgotten. I've had a few drinks since then. Ruggero Perugini.
that sounds correct.
I think I got it wrong, but that's what we're going to go with. I'm sorry. But fun fact, apparently this chief inspector was actually the inspiration for or fictionalized into the character of Chief Inspector Rinaldo Pazzi in the novel Hannibal.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah. I actually had Chianti last night. I did not have it with a man's liver and some fava beans.
I was like, do you maybe want to clarify?
So yes, the chief inspector took a new approach using computer analysis to weed out suspects looking for someone with a history of sex crimes, but that was not behind bars at the time of the killings.
Obviously.
And this led him to Pietro Pacciani. So Pacciani had been known to have a short fuse and a violent nature, and his prior conviction from a 1951 crime shared some similarities to the attacks of the monster.
You had someone's vagina.
Not quite. His then girlfriend was getting intimate with another man in a parked car in the countryside when
son in the car backseat.
When Pacciani jumped out and stabbed him to death before forcing himself onto her next to the body.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yes. probably should have warmed you up for that one. I just went full force.
I mean, I don't think she's ever going to cheat on anyone ever again.
Probably not. He served 13 years for this crime.
13 years for killing someone and then raping someone right next to the dead body.
Yep. Well, I mean, let's keep in mind that Stefano was only sentenced to 14 years for a double murder. So,
man, they got some whack decisions in their justice system.
every justice system is fucked. But
that's very true.
the only true justice system is Superman.
Fucking knew you were gonna say that.
Where is he? Please save us, Clarky boy.
He's busy. Yeah, and all slow.
So yeah, he would have been out in time to have perpetrated the monster's crimes. He also was later found guilty of physically abusing his wife and raping his 2 daughters.
Oh, come
I'm not
on.
certain on their ages at the time, but either way, that's not a good thing. You shouldn't do that. I know that's a real hot take, but
okay, but like, does he like eventually end up in jail and then all the other jailies find out that he like fucked a kid and then they fuck him up? Because I love those stories. I fucking love them.
he served time for these crimes from 1987 to 1991.
And someone fucked him up because of it. Your face is saying no.
That's all I have. So he served 4 years for those crimes. Essentially, he ended up being tried for the crime of being the monster on real shaky and circumstantial evidence. Like, there was a theory that it was I don't even, hang on. Where is it? This is why I keep all of my articles open just in case I need to go and double check. I just don't remember which one I read it in. Here we go. So, like, one of the theories or one of the connections that made them suspect that he was the monster was that when he was convicted of the crime in 1951, he had told police that he had gone crazy upon seeing his girlfriend or fiance uncover her left breast to the other man. And so they're like, it's very interesting that it was her left breast that she exposed, and it's the left breast that the monster started chopping off. So there's that. They found one of the bullets in his garden, but other police officers have been heard speculating that they think the chief inspector actually planted that bullet. And that was about all the evidence that they had. That and his prior crimes matching. And that he lived...
Really, fuck all.
He lived near some of the crime scenes. So like real shaky circumstantial evidence. And then there was so much other stuff that kind of flew in the face. Like they'd been able to determine from some of the entry holes of the bullets that the killer had to be 180 centimeters tall, but he was only like 160 something. So he was my height.
Yeah, that's dumb.
Yeah. He was tried and found guilty in 1994, but because the evidence against him was so weak, like I just stated, the verdict was later overturned in 1996. Funnily enough, cute. Funnily enough, pretty much from what I read, it sounded like it was pretty much the day he was acquitted. The police brought forward some new witnesses.
That's not fucking... Come on, people.
Yeah. These witnesses claimed to have been present for some of the murders, and these witnesses included Giancarlo Lotti, who basically claimed to have been the lookout while Picciani did the shooting, and a friend of his, Mario Vanni, wielded the knife. But the more he spoke to the police, the more he incriminated himself in the process. And from what I read, he eventually confessed to pulling the trigger on the Germans. And it was the German shooting that they were able to determine the whole height situation from as well. So that could sort out the question of height in regards to that.
I guess.
So following this, both Giancarlo and Mario were convicted and jailed. I'm not certain to what extent, like I'm not sure if they were just tried on that one case or if they were in all of them or how long they were sentenced for. And that conviction is actually the only one to have been upheld in this case. A new trial was scheduled for Pachani in light of this. However, he passed away in 1998 before it could proceed. So obviously, while these two men have been convicted and sentenced, there's still a lot of questions regarding this case, and it's still believed that it's not solved. And like I said, this is the part of the notes that I really struggled with, because I was able to find so much information about the attacks themselves that matched up and was clear and concise. But then everywhere I was looking, there's been, throughout this whole period, there's been so many suspects and potentials involved in this case. Like, I can't even think of how many I've mentioned already just in my notes. I really couldn't figure out a clear way to determine the theories, especially with the time that I had, because I was finishing off my notes pretty much yesterday morning before we started recording. And I was like, oh no, it was too late for me to turn around and like scrap it for something else. And it was a story that I felt needed to be shared. So like I said, that it's definitely something I'm going to want to come back to when I have the means to do a deeper dive. So obviously I'm aware already that the sucky part of my segment is that there's never answers. This time I'm gonna cop it on the chin, and I'm gonna take the blame for the fact that it's gonna be even suckier, because I can't even offer you much in the form of ideas or theories and speculation at this point. Just kind of had a lot more on my plate this week than I expected to, and the case was bigger than I thought it was. So I definitely bit off more than I could chew and was way too far down the rabbit hole to turn back. I will note that I've seen a lot of mentions of suspicion of Salvatore Vinci being closely connected to it in one way or another. So, you know, some links and theories that I read were about him and his brothers. Some were about the Sardinian clan in general. One that I even saw and didn't get to invest much time in was mention of his son being a suspect. And then there also was a whole part of Stefano and Salvatore's histories, both apart and their connection to each other, that I got really bogged down in, just in regards to, there was a lot of talk and speculation about their sexual partners and the genders of those partners, that I didn't really want to go into too much detail in without properly researching. So I'm going to put this to the side as something to, because we've been trying to figure out something for future bonus episodes. Maybe I can put this aside as something to come back and go, hey, I had some time up my sleeve, I've done some more research, let's talk about this some more. Though if anyone out there listening to this knows more information or has some ideas in regards to this case, or some places for me to look for more information, please do not hesitate to reach out. I would love to, I would love to know more about this case. It's something that I had never heard of until a few weeks. I hadn't heard about it until December, and then I hadn't really looked into it until a couple of weeks ago. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting, brutal, but it's really interesting. So I felt it definitely needed to be talked about, but I'm really sorry that I don't have.
Can
What?
you hear that?
Is that an ice cream truck?
It's a fucking ice cream truck. I thought I could hear it earlier and I was like, tripping ball. It's a fucking ice cream truck.
Can we let them know that now is not the best time for
It's okay.
us?
He's
Like-
not going down my street. He was going. I'm on a corner house, so he was going
Ah,
down
yeah.
that street, but he's not coming down this street. He's keeping going. So it should fade. Yeah, there you go. It'll fade out.
So anyone who knows the routes of the ice cream trucks in Kirstyn's area, she just triangulated herself. You can find her very easily.
Yay! Come and murder me.
But yes, I definitely want to follow this breadcrumb trail all the way to the witch's house, but there are too many breadcrumbs. I got full.
Yeah, literally though. Sorry, it's just Frank. I have no idea if that's his actual name. That's just what I've named him because he drives past my house all the fucking time and he's just as loud.
Frankly, I would be sick of it if I were you. Well, è un tuo problema.
The fuck
That's
did you
your
say to me?
problem.
Did you seriously ask him how to say that?
Yes.
Of course you did.
I was like, okay, there are two things that I need to know how to say in Italian. And he's like, what are they? And I'm like, how do you say butt? Which is culo. Now I keep telling Sunshine she's a culo.
I love it.
And then he was like, what's the other? I'm like, probably my most used phrase. And he was like, first he was like, is it the one about burning bridges? I'm like, no, the other one. And he's like, that it's my problem. I'm like, yes, that's the one. And it is, è un tuo problema.
I love it.
So anyway, yes, if you have any information about this case or any thoughts or insight, or even just anything to say in general, please feel free to reach out to us.
Okay, so if you want to email us, you can email us at rfimhpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to stalk us on Instagram or Twitter, it is at RFIMH podcast. It's basically just our initials for our name. So if you forget those letters, also don't judge me for the way I say H. Move on. But thank you for listening to our episode. We hope that we've taken up some space in your head today. And hopefully you'll let us take up some more space next week. Or right now. You do you, boo. We trust your instincts.
Until next time.